experienced and are experiencing right now. We
Yes, good evening and welcome. Welcome once again to Global TV. This is People's Point of View with me, Wayne. And I was not dead. I was terribly unwell last week and I had to prioritize my health and just back off of social media and chill out and deal with myself. But I am here this evening again, and the rumble continues because there is a lot going on. A lot going on. The war in Palestine continues. It is escalating by the day, and it is really not looking pretty because this set to go on for the unforeseeable future based on how we hear Netanyahu and baby killing Biden ramping up the rhetoric, then it seems as if this is going to wander on devastatingly and disgracefully for some time. But Mr. PNP look like them ready to turn up the thing. Me don't know if them serious or them catch fever or whatever, but Mr. PNP look like them ready to turn up the thing. But is the People's National Party really ready to go up against the PR machine of the crooked wholeness regime and the wholeness puppet for buying and swaying votes, as we know these things happen in our politics? But the People's National Party look like I'm ready to turn up the thing. Let's see how it goes. There's quite a few young, vibrant faces, especially on the western side of the country. Let's see if they keep the momentum going and how they will move this into a national or local election. Let's also see if Mr. Golden is going to fire from all of what's going on around him. But the People's National Party putting a spring in their step, it's a promising thing because we need to get rid of this crooked regime which have no shame, because I hear the man want to use the prosperity word in public, but we will see how this whole prosperity argument pans out. Because at this point, any prosperity argument he's coming with, it's rather to tell us how well he has done and his prosperity promises and what more he's going to fulfill for the foregoing. But if it's another anti-prosperity promise prime minister as the first one, the nation will not buy it at this point. I think they will buy pigs flying from the People's National Party at this point, rather than buying prosperity from you. Because if we are to judge prosperity based on a donkey to a farm in a community that has no road, then it's a sad indictment for a third term. While crime is nowhere, like nowhere to come under any control, like nowhere. And it continues to, the crime continues to escalate on the island. Even um, last night, an unidentified, sorry about my title, an unidentified man was shot in Spanish Town last night. Sorry. The St. Catherine North Police are trying to ascertain the identity of a man who was shot and killed in Spanish Town in the parish on Sunday night. It was reported that at 7:30 p.m. the man was standing on Burke Road when a Toyota Mark X motor car approached and shots were fired from the vehicle, which sped off from the scene. So, for those of you in Burke's Road or within that vicinity, whatever you see, hear, or know, give information to the police. I would suggest you give the information anonymously because I don't want to encourage anyone to be a good Samaritan and get themselves in problem because we know how our police operate in Jamaica, where you provide them information about criminals and crime, and rather than investigating the crime, they rather go back to the alleged criminal and let them know that you have informed on them. So that's my reason for suggesting give the information to the police, but do so anonymously to protect yourself. This government going into, because for me, the Prime Minister or the Labour Party has already started their um, the election campaign by stealth anyway, because some of the things that I see and hear them doing, it definitely suggests that the Prime Minister is in a underhand election campaign, really. He's um, seeking grace with the public again, trying to by favor to see if he can call the election based on his behavior on the ground and how he spoke at conference. I am looking for him to the People's National Party and try to outdo them. But I don't think the nation is going to have anything from this man because we've not seen him deliver on his promises, especially on crime, which continuously, year in, year out, get out of control without any crime plan. And you don't see them wanting to take any advice because we've all been listening to Mr. Rattigan for quite some time, explaining how much he has offered himself to assist with crime fighting. He even went for the commissioner of police post, I think twice, but unsuccessfully. And from my understanding, is willing to give his service in order to assist in crime fighting in Jamaica. And the government is just not even taking up his offer and see what advice or strategies or mechanism he could implement to help crime fighting. So I don't see how this government is going to, the wholeness is going to come to us with all of what's going on, integrity, nepotism, and everything. I don't see how he's going to come to the nation successfully. But as I said earlier, the People's National Party seem to have a spring in their step, which looks like a good thing. But let's see how it goes. The Blue Lagoon. We've heard, we've seen and heard throughout this year demonstration from civil groups with regards to the closing of the Blue Lagoon, whatever the reason the government or agencies of the government gave after the closure. But the interesting thing is the Blue Lagoon has been reopened, but the public does not have access via the local roads. So there is a legal case starting at the moment to deal with this very issue of access to the beach. So let's see how this pans out because more and more we see where we're losing access to our beaches. So let's keep an eye on this case and see how this works out because if this rules successfully in favor of a civil group, then it also paved a way to challenge access to other beaches as well. So let's see how this case pans out. We'll keep an eye on that because if this is successful, this can open ways for challenges for access to all our other beaches, which we do not have access to. I want to touch on an issue which I'm scared of, but I will just briefly say there is another a successful defamation case, again unchallenged. This this defamation case, the defendant did not respond to the case. So when cases like this happens in civil suit, the judge will rule in favor of the claimant. That's why it's called a default judgment. But with a default judgment, it's not the end of the story. You can apply to the court, but when all these applications are done, it's a case by case assessment and it's based on merit. But with a default judgment, you can apply to the court to set the judgment aside. If the court accept your argument and set the judgment aside, it doesn't mean that the defamation case is finished. What will happen is the court will still hear the claim, but at that point, the defendant will have the will be able to raise a defense at that point. But when a default judgment is given, it doesn't mean that it is final. It doesn't also mean that once you apply to the court to have the judgment set aside, that the court will set the judgment aside. But if your case has the merit, if your argument has the merit, and the judge puts the case aside, then it will be reheard, but you will then have the opportunity to raise a defense. So that's basically what I want to say on this issue, as well as we now see based on how the court is ruling in these cases, these two cases that were successful, were unchallenged. So it's still not yet kind of a precedent, because if challenged, you might never know how these cases will go. So if it is set aside and then on a rehearing, it is ruled in favor of the claimant, then it sets a precedent for those legal challenges within social media defamation. So all of us on social media will have to be more and extra careful of how we deal with topics to do with person and their reputation and all of that. So that's just to put that out there to say we have to be extra careful now in the information we put out and how we do that, because we have to be mindful of people's reputation and their feelings. Right. I'm not going to stay long tonight because I only got home just before 11 o'clock. But I want to turn my attention to the Palestine issue. The thing on the screen is Lauren Booth. Lauren Booth is the sister of Kerry Blair, the wife of Tony Blair. Lauren is married to, I think, is an Iranian, and she was converted to Islam about, I think, around 2010. But in this whole Palestine issue, you often hear people say Gaza is an open air prison, and you hear some people say Gaza is a concentration camp. Lauren, for me, gave quite a good perspective on why it shouldn't be said that Gaza is an open.
Zionist Jews bombing a concentration camp. Congratulations.
Day by day, we continue to see Gaza continue to reduce to more and more rubble. We continue to see dead children in front of us, innocent children, dead men, dead women. We see the bombing of refugee camps, the bombing of ambulance, university, hospitals. But still, America continuously holds steadfast. Israel has a right to defend itself. In domestic and international law, there is the right to self-defense. But also in domestic and international law, there's a principle or a doctrine called proportionality. It means that your reaction must be in proportion with the action. Meaning, Hamas killed over 1,000 people. Israel has the right to self-defense, but killing over 10,000 people in the last few weeks is not self-defense, is excessive force, disproportionate, and downright cruel and barbarous. Western so-called civilization continue to pump taxpayers' dollars into this war and into the weaponry of this war. How long before the world dismantled the UN Security Council? The UN Security Council deals with war and peace. They have 15 members. 10 of them I do not speak about because they're just mannequin in the show glass. But the 5 permanent members, which are veto holders and nuclear power, as long as that system remains, on an issue like Palestine, we will never get anywhere because Russia and China will not let anything pass at this moment, which is pro-Israel and not dealing with the issues of human rights and war crime and the whole ceasefire argument, humanitarian aid. America is not going to allow anything pro-Palestine to pass through the council. So therefore, on an issue like this, the Security Council is a stalemate. The General Assembly, where I don't talk about them much because the General Assembly, that vote they had the other day, had no legal force behind it. It's more of a moral, it's more of a moral tone. The vote in the assembly, but the vote in the Security Council is legally binding. But the issue is it will never get through because if it supports Palestine, America is going to veto it. If it overly supports Israel, Russia and America and China is going to veto it, while children continue to perish in Gaza to no end. Iran and America need to stop this bloodshed. They are the two forces in this war that Hamas will listen to Iran, Israel will listen to America. This bloodshed cannot continue because we see promising escalation. The Hezbollah has declared that they've joined the war from the 8th of August, but based on the translations, it is not a full scale war yet. coming from Hezbollah, but they're still waging war from the northern border with Israel. The Houthis in Yemen have declared war on Israel. So this looks like it's going to get out of hand because this is perfect for Biden to get drawn in for whatever interest that he is protecting and wants to protect or hold onto in the Middle East. And we must always remember that Biden said this.
We stop those of us who support, as most of us do, Israel in this body, for apologizing for our support for Israel. There's no apology to be made. None. It is the best $3 billion investment we make. Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel.
So if Israel didn't exist, America would have to create one. Therefore, America will not hold back Israel even when Israel is committing genocide, committing war crime. Not my wording, by the wording of all the international. Let me phrase it the way how I normally phrase it. By the standard of all the American international organizations, they are saying, governments around the world are saying, Israel is committing war crimes. They're committing genocide. They're committing ethnic cleansing. And America still tells us we are a peace-loving democracy. Can you believe a peace-loving democracy in 2023 is murdering children by the thousand? Biden said it is too early for a ceasefire. Can you believe that? It is too early for a ceasefire. And with the other fractions drawn into the war, it doesn't look like this is going to be over anytime soon. And the children continue to suffer. The Israel continuously, for the last 50 years or more, violate international law. Do not cooperate with any form of investigation from the International Criminal Court. Every resolution that passed, whether be in the Security Council or in the General Assembly, it will just turn to stick two fingers up at them, because unless America wants it to happen, it will not happen. This is what I call these organizations, whether it be the UN, the WHO, the Security Council, the World Bank, the IMF. This is why I call them all American international organization, because we're made to believe that these bodies are world bodies that caters to the world's need, or it is all of these world leaders that come together, decide on the agenda. But these organizations are really America agenda. Unless America wants them to work, they never really work. And if we remember when the Iraq the Iraq War, even when I think was it China that vetoed, but there was a veto during the Iraq War. And rather than going back to the Security Council, Bush and Blair created their dossier and created their argument to go to war outside of the Security Council, claiming that the first resolution, I forgot the number at the moment, the first resolution gave them the mandate to war. And we all know that turned out to be an illegal war. China is becoming very influential globally as well as in the Middle East. Could it be China that will broker the peace deal between Israel and Palestine? If that happens, how will America deal with that? Or will America allow Israel to make a peace deal that is China's initiative? That is to see if it happens, but I think China's for peace. But America is on a war path with Iran. And for the sake of the children of Palestine, I think it's time both Iran and America back down and bring their both warring faction to the negotiating table. But there's also an issue with negotiation as well to do with Israel and Palestine. There has been countless negotiation and peace deal, the Arafat peace deal, the peace deal of that Israeli prime minister who was assassinated. None of these will work unless Israel is willing to give up land. One of the biggest stalemate in the negotiation is to do with the borders post 1948. The lands that Israel captured in the 1967 war, those lands are a major bone of contention when there's any negotiation. What Palestinians want is for Israel to go back to the 1948 borders. But because Israeli settlers continuously pushing Palestinians off their lands and settling on their lands, and the government isn't doing much about it, even though I think it was 2000, I think about 2016 or so, when Israel withdrew from Gaza. Even then, there are still other settlements that are under dispute post 1948. Israel doesn't seem to be willing to cave in on any of those. And this makes all the negotiation useless. Even when there is any signed negotiation, the Israeli settlers continuously taking and settling on more lands, and with the backing of the IDF and the state of Israel. So this issue, for it to be solved, America has to want it to be solved. America has to say to Israel, this is it, and unless you accept this offer, we cannot fund you anymore. This is the only way there's going to be a peace deal. Because as long as Israel is getting the support that they're getting from the United States and from Britain, with other Western powers, they are not going to stop. And this war, about the Palestine-Israel war, I've been watching closely for the last 25 years. This one takes a toll on me. This one looks different. This one is the worst one I've seen, to be honest. And I mean, this is happening in 2023 under the glare of camera. You know what I mean? So Israel and America does not have global support anymore either. The tide is really turning on this issue. They do not have global support anymore. You can see week by week massive demonstrations in cities all across the world. In London, it's every in the UK, it's every Saturday and Sunday. This coming weekend in London will be London's most prestigious and glorious war celebration. It's called the Armistice Day or whatever they call it. It's the celebration of the ending of, I think, World War II. But these people are always celebrating and glorifying war. And there are some big demonstration planned around this. So there could be a massive showdown this weekend between demonstrators and police. So it is something that I'm keeping my eye on as well. But before I go, whatever we can do to support the children of Gaza, whether be by demonstrating, donating, speaking out, we should do it. What is happening to the children of Gaza at the moment? Any of us children around the world can be subjected to the might of Israel, Britain, and America. Wherever we see injustice, we must stand up and we must speak out. This issue of Israel and Palestine at the moment is not an issue where you can say there is a gray area here. No, there isn't a gray area in this issue. It is am I with Palestine or am I with Israel? And I choose to be on the side of humanity, on the side of peace. So I stand with the people of Palestine. Under no circumstances, I could never or will never stand with the brutality and barbarity that Israel and its Western counterpart continue to dish out to the Palestinian children for the last 75 years. This is a war that is older than a lot of us. Any Palestinian 70 years and below are prisoners or is living, as Lauren Booth has it, in a concentration camp. All of the international organizations are saying Israel is an apartheid state. It is an occupying state. And like the world stood to end apartheid in South Africa, the world has a duty to end apartheid in Palestine. I want to thank you for being here tonight. And thanks for your continuous support. Let me give a bit of shout out. Hey, head teacher K, Sunshine, Bernice, Alison, Yvonne. Thank you all for being here. And I will be back on Wednesday night. As long as I'm well, I will be back on Wednesday night. But let us continue to pray for the children of Palestine and do whatever we can in our power to speak out, stand up to stop this onslaught. This could be any one of us. Barbarity is still in its flame. Thank you very much. This was the people's point of view. I am Wayne. Good night and thank you for being here.